understanding how to use AI in your workflow is the best way to get ROI. How it works for you might not be the same for another company. So there is one company for me which writes like these big business. They sell to different stores. So they have this big like orders that comes in, and then they convert that to like different manufacturing orders and send it to factories. They want to automate this whole flow. I told them everything would be automated except sending to factories where you need to click approve.
Are you a scaling SaaS founder? Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those you don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where cultural connectivity means realizing your coworkers we should circle back may mean something completely different depending on what time zone they're in. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I help B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. What do ERP systems, unstructured data, and distributed teams have in common? Well, more than you might think. And it all comes down to how modern companies are scaling smarter. In this episode, we're exploring how technology and team culture intersect to solve some of today's biggest business challenges. From the evolution of clunky ERP systems to sleek AI-powered automation layers, we'll uncover how startups are now integrating multiple data sources and bringing custom workflows together without blowing the budget or getting buried in complexity. But it's not just about tech stacks. We'll dig into the real-world value of maximizing unstructured data, turning fragmented info into actionable insights that sharpen decision-making and drive real operational efficiency. You'll also hear why building a global team isn't just about time zones. It's also about empathy. We'll talk through the nuances of cross-cultural management, creating space for collaboration, and the importance of setting healthy expectations that protect both productivity and well-being in remote environments. And if you're in the early stages of scaling, there is a powerful reminder here. Stay close to sales. Continuous engagement with your sales efforts helps reveal market gaps, avoid stagnation, and ensure your product roadmap is actually aligned with what your customers want. Whether you're building your first startup or modernizing an existing operation, this episode offers a high-level view of how to blend tech innovation with people-first leadership. Let's dive in. Our expert guest last Thursday was Christian Jack, the founder of the Sales Dojo, who turned a broken sales training industry on its head. He shared why most SaaS demos fail, how psychology drives conversions, and why sales success starts with rewiring what you believe, not just what you say. And our founder last week was Mac Chirawala, CTO of Wednesday Solutions. Mac unpacked what it really means to build AI-native products and why smaller, well-aligned teams with documented systems can ship faster and scale smarter than you ever thought possible. If you missed either of those episodes, go back and check them out. It is absolutely on the cutting edge of what's happening in tech and sales today. My guest today is Harish Chandramowli, co-founder and CEO of Flare, a modern AI-powered ERP platform that's helping fashion brands run smarter, leaner, and more profitably. Harish brings a rare blend of deep technical expertise along with frontline hustle, often going from code reviews straight to prospect calls. A lot of founders can probably relate to that. His background spans cybersecurity at Bloomberg, cloud engineering at MongoDB, and now product leadership from the trenches of early-stage SaaS. With Flare, Harish is rethinking how brands manage workflows, extract insights from messy data, and build cross-functional teams across time zones and cultures. Whether he's optimizing inventory, mentoring engineers, or selling directly to customers, Harish is proof that the best founders don't just build, they listen, iterate, and lead from the front. Welcome someone who's scaling smarter by staying deeply hands-on. Harish Chandramowli. Hey Harish, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, you've gone from cybersecurity at Johns Hopkins to founding Flare, which is really kind of a cool transition. What was a moment of insight that made you jump into building a vertical SaaS for fashion brands?
I kind of always like building things, and that's how my career has evolved. Like I did my master's at cybersecurity at Johns Hopkins and still wanted to be an engineer rather than like more like a security consultant by choice. So that's what kind of led me to join Bloomberg to their engineering team, which in turn led me to MongoDB for the engineering team, where at the beginning I was doing cybersecurity, then I was doing a bunch of different things. But more importantly, be having working with data and see how people use data, it felt like vertical SaaS industry is one of the highest paying customers a database company has.
Yes.
And that made me curious about why, and that led to exploring how people use it, why people use it, how can I make something better in that space. And that's kind of like how Flash started.
There's obviously you saw a gap between retail workflows and the ERP tools that are available, especially for smaller brands. I mean, giant companies have maybe some more options, but what made this a gap big enough and the pain point big enough that you had to go solve it?
So one, obviously you don't want to start a company for sake of starting it. There needs to be enough market sizing
Right.
and a gap in there. So things I saw are like, if you are like a brand that's newly starting, there are like a bunch of 6 to 7 apps that you use in pretty much like Shopify ecosystem that just works for them. And for really large companies, they have their own software engineers. They have like
Sure.
NetSuites of the world, Oracle, they pay. But in the SMB market, it has never been disrupted. When you think of how a brand operates and what they need, one, they make decision based on data, which is like your sales data by location, by material, by color, whatever it is that's specific to your brand, how you run your business. And then the other part is just workflow automations, being able to write purchase order to your manufacturers, being able to get the sales order, send it to your warehouse. The challenge I saw in the SMB market when I spoke with a lot of people is that one, all the ERPs which is used for these reporting or automation are pretty much a rigid templates, which is like a bunch of Excel sheets put together. And the challenge there has been like people always use these rigid ERPs, then have to pay for taking the data out, structuring the data to a way the business needs. Example, a t-shirt is color and size, whereas a
Right.
bralette has cup size, torso length, regular size, color. So they used to add these extra properties that's needed, materials and stuff, then use a data lake to do it. One of the things that I learned in MongoDB is flexible data has so much power. It's so much easier to help people understand their business without having to pay the second part of like another engineer, another workflows that is more expensive, right? That's where we can come in. Flare is one of the very flexible, lightweight ERPs out there. We structure the ERP, we structure the data in a way that makes sense for the company from the start. And it comes at a fraction of price because the whole product is built that way. And that's why this market seemed interesting. And it's like people reception was really good. I had one customer who literally cried and be like, this is so much easier to use. And that kind of shows you that there is nothing out there that makes people happy for these workflows.
Right, right. Yeah, and a lot of the other ERP systems, and you mentioned some of the giant ones. Implementation takes forever, and they're very rigid, and most of them were built at least 25 years ago, maybe 35, and it just they're so heavy compared to what is available today. Is that why when last time we talked, you talked about traditional ERPs becoming obsolete? Yeah, tell me more about that. What's broken in the old model, and how does Flare flip that on its head?
So I kind of, the world is changing so fast. So my thought process in the last few months have obviously changed, right? With AI and everything. So it's not just what is broken before, what it could be a year or two from now. An
That's good.
example, easiest way to think about it is like, why do people use ERP? I came back and talked a lot about reporting, understanding your business. Traditionally, you need to hire these implementation engineer, which you touched on. A company uses 10 to 20 tools minimum, even at like little bit at the later stages of SMBs. And you have these engineers, you hire these implementation people, bring all the tools you use together into a single system. And it's just so expensive. And if you have used ChatGPT and Anthropic over the last few months, you can query across your Gmail, Google Drive, calendar, and get reports out of it, even in your personal life.
Right.
And they are not like literally copying data over to a single data source, do these custom integration implementations and stuff. Because AI, the MCP or like the new protocols that comes up, fundamentally allows you to think products in a very different way. And now think of that in the enterprise scale. You don't need an ERP that has these custom implementations. You don't need an ERP that where you spend five, 10, $100,000 engineers to do this implementation. You can literally use these MCP tools or layers and apply it to an enterprise. That's how I see the future of ERP evolving. And this allows every company to do these custom automations at a fraction of cost. And that is the future of ERP.
Yeah, that is significant. I think so many companies, and it doesn't matter. I mean, big companies for sure, but the small companies have data in lots of different places. And you mentioned some of those. So it may be Dropbox, it may be Google Drive, it may be an ERP system, it may be a CRM, it may be in Shopify, it may be lots and lots of different places. And the ability to bring all of that data together, even unstructured data, and make sense of it is such a game changer compared to what reporting was even 5 or 10 years ago.
Yes. And that has been the challenge even before, right? Unstructured data is what
Oh
you touched
yes.
on. Why Flare has been so powerful is because it's built on my learnings from MongoDB. Obviously, underlying data is MongoDB, which is the flexible, unstructured data structure
Hmm.
database that you could use. And AI has just been a cherry on top, where these unstructured data can be made sense so easily in the last 6 to 12 months compared to even a year back.
That's amazing to me, just to think about the value of unstructured data, and whether that is conversations, whether it's notes, support tickets. I mean, there's just so many different things that we can mine now that we couldn't before, and that's where I think the gold is. It's not necessarily in the structured data, although managing that well is important, but it's being able to use the two together, structured and unstructured. Real
Yeah,
game
the
changer.
example for me is that if, especially in the industry ERP, you communicate everything with your manufacturers, factories through email. So even a simple task like when a manufacturing is done, you will get an email that says, hey, I'm going to ship XYZ items with these numbers, like 10 t-shirts, 10 toys, 20 pants. And it all comes through email. Usually some human looks at the email, downloads that PDF, key in those data from those PDF into an ERP system. But that's not needed. Now AI can learn your emails, say
Yeah.
that, hey, you got an email from your factory saying that things are getting delivered. And AI can parse your attachment, fill in those data. You just need to verify and approve it. And the workflow is done. A 2 hour, 3 hour workflow now gets condensed to 2 minutes to 3 minutes.
Wow. And I'm sure that makes people a lot happier as well. I mean, nobody wants to take a PDF and go and enter that into to an ERP system.
Yes, I feel like all those simple, mindless tasks which people hate can be automated so easily these days.
That's good. Well, you hit six figures pretty quick and had a pause. What did the sales gap teach you about the momentum and founder led growth?
So first we closed pretty big like deals at the beginning, like 2 years back when we started the company, and then we went heads down, built the product. But when we restarted the sales process, I do feel that the break where we went heads down and built the product was not good. One, sales is always happening. You should always sell, and the volume teaches a lot. Understanding the market for me is the biggest thing, right? When you stop the sales, you don't understand where the gap is, what else you need to build, what are the reasons why you are losing a sales call.
Right.
That is also a biggest learning. And I did not have this learning for nearly a year.
Wow.
And when I restarted, when I started speaking to so many brands, my own thought process keep evolving and I understand the mistakes we did. Pretty much that's it. Coming from engineering and software background, understanding the users, understanding the pain points, and building a software that makes people happy was the easier part for me as being a founder. Sales has been the biggest growth. Understanding sales, going through sales motion has been the biggest growth. That's a place where I have made a lot of mistakes along the way in the last few years.
I think a lot of companies would say that. I mean, especially technical founders, sales is somewhat of a mystery. We all know that we need to do it, but without having a background in that, I think it's a challenge. Especially just the feeling that you're going to market with a product, and as an engineer, you feel the product is incomplete because it is, and that's okay. But then founders a lot of times will wait too long to sell and get out there and get that information. How has your mindset changed around going to market and selling products that maybe do feel a little bit incomplete?
I think selling a product that's a bit incomplete, I was usually like fine with it, but the part which has changed is more like the volume, right? If you
Mm,
try to go to 100 people, if 100 people are not in your initial profile because you only have some features built out, right? That's okay. All that's needed to be done is increase the volume, increase to reaching out to 200 people a week rather than 100 people a week. The other parts are also more like being able to talk. Like, I hate when I receive cold calls, but it's a necessary thing to do
sure.
in your sales cycle, because the more you do, you learn how to position your company, how to understand like where people feel the main pain. If you can speak for 5 minutes and they're taking the second call, that means the pain is so bad that you need to solve them.
Yeah.
If they're not taking the second call, then it's like, yeah, you are forcing the product and it's not the product that they need immediately.
Oh, that makes sense.
And some learnings are also around how you position it, right? Like, I used to talk about this whole complex thing of, we have this unstructured thing, we can get you the report and all those stuff. It's all true. That's what people like when they use the software, but that's not the way to communicate. The moment we said, hey, we are lightweight software, give you all the report the way you need, and that's why you should check out, people loved it. When it comes to sales, when it comes to targeting people, there are a few nuances I need to learn. That's what took me some time.
And how did you deal with sales cycles? I mean, typically ERP sales cycles are really long. Were you able to do that where you accelerated the sales cycle just because you're lighter weight and easier to implement?
We accelerated the onboarding cycle because it's lightweight, easier to implement. But we
Okay.
definitely, like, sales cycle is a typical sales cycle based on the brands. When you go after smaller brands with just CEOs, it's quicker. But for bigger brands, you go through a lot of multiple meetings with different teams. Everyone needs to sign off.
Right.
It has to go on. But yes, onboarding process and implementation process, I was very conscious so that the product is built in an innovative way that it's so easy, so much easier to onboard.
That's huge. So now a lot of those projects drag out for months and sometimes years with big companies, and so onboarding is that's where the value is because you're really delivering value significantly faster.
Yes.
How did you balance technical strategy with business needs, and especially in AI or automation? I mean, it sounds good, but maybe budgets are tight or clients want immediate ROI.
So one of the strengths of being a technical founder is that when I am on a sales call, when someone asks me something, it's so much easier for me to just do the calculation of, can I build this in a week, or is it going to take me a month to build? Can I promise this or can I not promise this? It's kind of like more easier than a non-technical founder to make the decision on the spot.
Makes sense.
In terms of prioritizing, especially in the world of AI, one of the best thing that can happen is vibe coding for sales call, because you're not having real data, you're not thinking about scalability and everything. If you know you can build it in few weeks, you can vibe code it in like few days or few hours and just show it in the sales call. Say that this is what the product can do. If it hits with people, if they sign up, obviously I will spend the engineering resources to build it in the right way. If it doesn't hit,
Ah,
if no one signs up, I don't need to build it.
that's brilliant. So many people could learn from that.
Yeah, it's a places where AI has made things very different is prototyping.
Yeah, that's big. In the old days, I did some of the prototypes and demos were literally PowerPoint slides where you click something and it, the slide changes, but it looks like the screen changed and now we've got something new and, we're dealing with a prototype. And so,
That's even 2 years back, right? When I started Flare, the prototyping is Figma screens. We just make
yeah,
clickable Figma screens and make it look like real. And when we had some products, I engineer used to mock some data and show as if it's real. And the last 6 months, things have changed. AI do the
yeah.
whole prototyping to like reasonably real world data or like the whole workflow to be real world.
It's amazing just how quickly that happened because Figma was huge. Everybody was using that and still do. But now you can actually build something that is a working prototype even
So
faster than you can mock up screens and make something, in Figma.
So even for sales call example is like we are in fashion. That means all the websites are public. So before going on a call, I can feed that URL to ChatGPT or Anthropic of the world
Sure.
and then say, bring me some real data for my data structure so that I can insert them and show them the demo with their products, their things.
That's genius.
And that became so easy. Without AI, I probably wouldn't be doing that.
And to them, it feels like a custom demo because it's got their data, it's got their information, it's got their SKUs, it's
Yes.
got their information. And so they're like, they have ownership in that already. And we're just at the
Yes.
demo stage.
And that makes them feel good as well, right? Okay, you have looked at my product, you have looked at my
Right.
business, you have put in that effort.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they feel a lot more valued because of that. And that they're not just a number, but you've actually spent the time in understanding their business and probably give you a lot of credit and how much you understand about their business just from that, you know, that effort. Not a
Yes.
lot of companies care enough to even bother trying that.
In startups, founder-led sales, you are a lot more passionate about your customers and products. So you do that. When you are an AE in a big company, I get it, right? It's a big company. You have the process, just follow the process.
Right, right. Are you missing key relationships that could transform your leadership? Most leaders are. They just can't see it. And here's what shocked me: the most successful leaders aren't lone heroes. They're the center of four specific relationships that multiply their impact while preserving their sanity. You're probably like everybody else, drowning in connections, but starving for real support. And it's creating a silent epidemic of leadership burnout among executives just like you. So, take my free assessment at thecaptainskeys.com. Discover which critical relationships you're missing in under 5 minutes, and then grab my new book, The Captain's Keys, part Netflix drama, part game changing blueprint for leadership that actually sustains you. One CEO called it the owner's manual I never got. So stop flying blind and see what you're missing. Well, as you've hired people, you built a globally distributed team from the very beginning. What have you learned about managing for collaboration and quality across time zones and cultures?
One, culture is very important. Like when I hire people from different countries, understanding each other's culture goes a long way in people feeling close to you. An example for me, especially coming from India, Deepavali is more like a bigger holiday, bigger like time when I want it, like here, happy Deepavali and everything compared to a Thanksgiving break. So you kind of like tweak your working time where the pressure lies based on these days, right? And that's kind of like important when you are having a global team. In terms of managing, one of the biggest advantage at the startup for me is that anyone who reports to me don't need an one-on-one for career growth. Company success is tied to their own success because they are there to grow with the company. That makes things a little easier compared to when I was at Mongo managing a global team where I need to help everyone go from like each level, run through levels.
Right.
I don't care. Everyone who right now in a startup works for me is self-motivated, has to be self-motivated. I don't need to be on top of people. I don't need to be following up every day. So that makes managing even easier. We all like, there is no like I am a manager, I am a contributor kind of relationship, right? Everyone just chips in and does anything that's needed for the company. So we are all active in Slack. We all post every other small things in Slack. Apart from that, few things I learned from MongoDB on managing distributed teams are like leadership used to put their kids' pictures, their dog walk pictures in the morning That makes people feel more related, close to everyone.
Yes.
And it has to come from the leadership. And I used to do that as well. Like, hey, this was my fun weekend plan. This is what happened. Just put it in the Slack.
Oh, that's smart. We all need that connection. And the more we can do that, especially remote, I think the better it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
remote time difference. When you consider everything, it becomes very important to do that.
Yeah.
Few things with my team is like because of time difference, they used to work really hard. They used to be up till like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. India time because that's kind of like the morning time in US. I'm talking to customers. I had to instill in them that like when I talk to customers and say I need something tomorrow, it's not for you to be up all night. Go to bed at 10, go to bed at 11, wake up tomorrow, go through the list I post.
Very, very good way to do it. As you've built teams, one of the things that we talked about is you want them to feel some pressure to achieve, to get things done. How do you create a healthy push without burning people out?
At the beginning stages, I did not do it well. For me, it's like, okay, I will take up all this, soak up all the pressure, and just transfer like whatever is needed to the bare minimum, right? That was not always good. I should have been delegating more and putting people more in hard situations when something goes wrong. That's good for their own development as well. I don't
Yes.
have to think of it as like just protecting them, right? I didn't do it well initially, but when I started doing it, I do see that everyone stepped up. Especially when I started doing concentrating more on sales around like December, January of last year, I had to put everyone directly in touch with my customers and make them act as customer success people. And everyone stepped up. The amount of help I got from them just made me think I should have done it from the beginning.
That's the way it works a lot of times. Yeah, we fear losing control, and then when we take that step and delegate and let them run. Yeah, I think a lot of times, most of the time in my experience, it's I've always been impressed. People stepping up and doing things and really accomplishing way more than what I thought. But it is scary.
I think it's not even control, right? For me, it's more like during really hard situations, I shouldn't put them in those situations. I should be the one handling the harder, tricky situation,
Yeah,
soak up the pressure because they're working for me. I don't want them to be under pressure,
yeah, you want to
but
protect
that's
them.
probably not the right way to think.
Well, what do you think your biggest challenge is as a leader? Not as a product builder or engineer, but in building the company itself.
One, definitely I take up way too much work than I should with the team size I have. And that's one of the thing. Another stuff is being able to find the right balance between sales org and engineering org so that like sales don't promise a lot nor engineering not like be there for the sales team to go for the sales, right? It's kind of like making sure that the relationship within an org is always easy to build, but as you build a company, especially at these beginning stages, it's very important that the inter department dynamics is also good. So that is probably like the, I don't know whether it's a challenge that is not going well, but it's also something I have always been thinking on how I can make it better.
Sure. How do you make that interpartment dynamic good? What does that look like for you?
First, after like second or third sales calls, every engineer needs to be in these sales calls because at that point you
Mm,
are selling the product. Engineers, as someone who is building it, you should be doing the sales. And the same with customer success. I don't have a dedicated customer success person at the beginning stages. Maybe when the organization goes really big, you need it, but engineers should be the customer success people. Then you are putting yourself in their shoes, thinking about what can be done, what cannot be done. And when it comes to non-engineering people, I want them in my weekly planning meetings so that they understand how we schedule what we are doing. They don't need to understand the technical aspect of it, but the project we pick up, how much time it needs, so that they have some level of empathy towards like how hard it is to build a product.
yeah.
I have seen a lot of non-technical people think product building is a magic. There is a lot of hard work that goes in there.
It's just typing, right?
Yes, it's a thing. So I cannot make sure all those things happens. Let's see how much it is scalable, right?
Yeah.
All these are easy to do when you are a 5-10 people team, but when you are a 20-30 people team, things change.
How has your like development velocity or speed changed as the team has grown? Was it
Mm,
faster when it's smaller? Is there like a critical mass, or have you divided into teams, or how have you managed that as the team has gotten bigger?
For me, it's like the team is bigger, but people responsible for each part of the things are still siloed. For example, I have one QA engineer. So we sync for like 2 hours with everyone, and then she can just run on her own. I have two front end engineers who just need to like work between them, and they are all like very good in splitting the task and making sure they don't step on each other and move fast. The velocity itself has not come down that much for me until wanted people to take something that's not in their true strength. Example is like my front end engineers have to build full stack application.
Okay.
Then naturally I need to slow down because I need to give them time to learn the backend. I need to give them time to learn the entire stack. I can't keep this up. As company becomes bigger and bigger, it is going to slow down, but we are not there yet.
Yeah.
We don't have like quarterly planning. We have weekly planning tied down, but mostly it's just like 2 hours in the morning. We decide what to do, who does which task, and just move on. So we are still small enough to be very nimble, move fast. I feel like up to 10 to 20 engineers, they should be very easy to keep up. Only
Sure.
when you cross those 20 mark, it becomes harder.
You mentioned silos. How have you dealt with that, where you have teams that are working on specific things that maybe don't have visibility into other areas of the project?
Slack. Everyone is in
Ah,
all the Slacks. Every Slack is public so that you can mute the engineering Slack, but you can just go and access it to understand
okay.
what's happening. And that has helped a lot. And the weekly planning meetings, right? So everyone knows what people are working on, stand-ups. Everyone knows what everyone is working on that specific day. The whole company is like, even if I take my BDR, SDRs, it's hardly 10 people. So it's very easy to have everyone be aware of things that going on. But the most important part that's everyone needs to know either way is what sales call is going, what customers we are talking to, which customers are onboarding, which customers
Right.
had really tricky bugs in the last week. Because this doesn't matter whether you are a salespeople, customer success, or engineer, you need to know. And that usually keeps everyone apprised of where we are at and what everyone is working on and the expectation. If something has gone wrong during onboarding, my engineers need to think through to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Right.
My QA person needs to make sure she tests that every time new release happens. And my salesperson makes sure that when they do the demo, they kind of cover that and make sure the demo works for those use cases. So everyone kind of pulls in the same direction.
As you've continued to grow, how are you using AI to increase that velocity, with other people? And that could be in sales, it could be in development, it could be across the board.
So, one, obviously, engineering, everyone uses cursors and windsurf of the world. We made sure our repo is structured in a way that these AI agents can code the small task that comes along the way. I kind of already touched on a little bit on like the sales part, on like how we are now doing like a very customer specific mocking, customer specific on demos. And on the sales part, there is one more thing that happens for me. Is like during my first two calls, I never show them the product. I listen to their, I listen to people, I listen to how their business operates, feed them to AI, come up with a visual flow chart on, hey, this is how your business works. These are the different moving parts. That wins trust. Often people haven't just looked at the way their business works. They just know that they have 10 employees doing different tasks, but they never thought
Right.
through how each one interacts, how the data flows. Now with AI, you can literally feed the transcript and get the flow chart. And then you can explain to them how you can make it better.
That's
And
really,
that
really
has been
smart.
a very like huge impact on sales. And for customer success, one of the other biggest challenge that I used to have is that being an engineer, you kind of jump on solutions a lot. You kind of go a little more deeper on details. But my customers are non-technical. So literally I would be like, hey, this is my customer's problem. This is the solution. This is how I'm going to do it. Can you help me translate it so that I can talk to a non-technical person about it?
So good.
And that helps me talk to my customers in a way that makes sense to them because they are all brilliant designers, creative people.
Right.
It's not technical. So I am not creative, but I'm too technical. But how do I bridge the gap? A definitely helps a lot.
Yeah. That is a really, really good use case. I think that's really smart. take that and translate it into something that'll really resonate with them where they are. This is a great, great use case. A lot of early stage founders will build AI enabled products in traditional industries, and ERP being one of those. What's the best advice for getting buy-in from skeptical customers?
One, listen to their pain and tell them how you are solving it rather than saying AI is solving it. It is important, right? If you say everything is an agent, people don't listen. In my case, I told an example of how we take these packing lists from the factory, fill out all the information for them. But I also painfully highlight that it doesn't literally just go into the system. That is an approval process. You need to check and verify that AI has parsed the things properly and then click approve. So just making sure that like when you talk about these things, give that caveat, be practical, be realistic that like AI is going to do all the magic, but you are going to verify. That means your 2 hour job changes to 2 minute job, but it's not just doing everything on its own, making mistakes, allowing you to run in like circles to figure out where things would have gone wrong.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I approach AI. I approach AI as like, hey, these are your pain, these are your workflows. This is the place where we can automate things so easily. And this is how I would automate stuff versus just saying I have this brilliant agent that solves everything. I don't know whether it's a right or wrong approach, but that's kind of like my personality and it works for me.
Yeah, that's good. And you mentioned before, getting rid of repetitive work, speeding that up, and I love the analogy, 2 hours to 2 minutes in review. Is AI really ready for mission critical workflows yet, or is that still a ways off? I mean, where do you see the best ROI today?
I think understanding how to use AI in your workflow is the best way to get ROI. How it works for you might not be the same for another company. So there is one company for me which writes like these big business. They do like they sell to different stores. So they have this big like orders that comes in and then they convert that to like different manufacturing orders and send it to factories. They want to automate this whole flow. I told them everything would be automated except sending to factories where you need to click approve. Then the process becomes easier where you sales team, purchase order, don't sync, don't transfer random documents, don't create more work, right? It's all automated, but it doesn't go to factory because you do want eyes to make sure the numbers are right.
Yeah.
AI itself is not doing it. So for me, understanding the workflow is very important. Understanding which is critical to your business, where and which is not critical and can be automated is very important. And that's how I see AA being used right now. 2 years from now, maybe AA can do every critical path without human intervention. It's just not there yet.
But it'll get there for sure. But I think you're right. It's not quite ready, but I always think it's going to be further out. And every iteration, I'm surprised how quickly
Yes,
technology is moving.
I like passing a PDF used to be like, oh, this is a magic and this is
Right.
going to help everyone improve their workflow, especially in manufacturing area. Used to be my thought 6 months back. Now I'm like, no, I will read your email, get the PDF, do all the inputs. You just need to verify.
Right.
And maybe the verification process would also be taken over at some point, but at least being conscious of how AI is evolving and making sure you come along with those development is very critical.
So true. So true. Well, for founders that are building complex tools in traditional industries, what's one habit or principle that's helped you stay focused and maybe move fast and build trust with customers?
Listen, during the first call with all my sales calls, I never show the product. I never talk about my solution, how that's great or anything. Literally, I would be like, hey, I'm an engineer who loves solving problem. I want to hear your business, how you operate, where you find inefficiencies. And that kind of act as both product research, sales, and also for building trust.
So good. Well, where can people learn more about you and about Flare online?
My LinkedIn. You can look up me in LinkedIn. I am pretty responsive in LinkedIn. Reach out to me there.
Outstanding. We'll make sure and link that in the show notes and Flare as well. So, Harish, it's been such a great conversation. Thanks for being on SaaS Fuel.
It's a pleasure and thanks for having me.
Thanks again, Harish, for coming on the show and sharing your insights and resources. You can learn more about Harish and Flare Software at flaresoftware.com. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to check out our channel on YouTube as well. It's at Champion Leadership. We have full video episodes, trainings, outtakes, shorts, lots more stuff over there for you on YouTube. Thought leaders share. Share this episode with someone who's been building in public so long their roadmap now has fan theories. Everyone who shares this week gets a spoiler alert filter for life. Automatically hide your next pivot until it's feature complete and meme worthy. Coming up next time, what if HR wasn't just a support function, but your company's growth engine? Next week, Nahed Kairala shares how he scaled multiple startups across 4 continents by making AR strategic. From 7 to 9-figure growth and 2 million plus in savings, Nahed shows how world-class talent ops can fuel global momentum. Then after that, 1 week from today, we have Vitaly Motuz, who breaks down how he's helping thousands of small businesses grow online with simple tools that drive real reviews and real results. If you want word of mouth to work harder for your brand, don't miss this one. Man, that's something I think we all need, right? Well, I will see you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/SaaSfuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.
Let's go!